This is the End Zone. Let's move the chains. Conference championships, starting off with Pac-12, Conference USA, all the way up to the Big 12 and SEC. We're getting into all of them with our predictions. I want you to comment your predictions down below along with my predictions. So keep up with all of these. Let's start it off with the first game, USC versus Oregon. USC sitting at 13. Nothing they can really do to impress the committee enough to get into the college football playoffs, no matter really what happens. I mean, Oregon shouldn't be in this game in the first place. Washington had some COVID problems, so Oregon is taking the place of Washington. But Keaton Slovis, Drake London, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Tyler Vaughns in this air raid offense instituted by Graham Harrell are just too much for me against an Oregon team that has kind of been all over the place this season. I wanted Oregon to be much better than it has been. I like what they have talent-wise, but they just have not been able to put it all together. And this is the first time since 2006 that USC can be 6-0. Listen, I predicted it earlier this year that USC would run the table. So far, I've been correct on the regular season. We're going to push it. USC, Pac-12 champions, 6-0. Let's go. Conference USA, UAB at Marshall. So Marshall is 7-1, almost running the table in the regular season, but they lost to Rice. And the X factor for me is that UAB doesn't really take care of the football on offense, and these are pretty evenly matched teams. I feel bad for UAB because they keep getting to the Conference USA championship, but I just don't see them winning. I'm going to get Marshall on this one to win the Conference USA. Over in the Mountain West, we've got Boise State versus number 24, San Jose State. San Jose State, usually not a team that you're talking about, one of the best Mountain West teams, but they're doing it this year, really turning things around. Boise State has only beaten one team with a winning record this year. Meanwhile, the Spartans, they have only allowed 17.5 points per game. Nick Starkel, coming from the SEC, he came from the SEC, from the Power 5, with one goal in mind. San Jose State gets their first win against Boise State in 14 straight games. That's what Nick Starkel came here to do. He's going to make that record 14-1. San Jose State wins. Next up, we've got Ball State and Buffalo. First of all, why Buffalo isn't ranked is still beyond me, but this matchup has Jarrett Patterson, the best running back, or one of the best running backs in all of college football. He had a 400-yard game this season against a rush defense that is just outside the top 50. Listen, this screams Bulls over Cardinals. In the American Athletic, we have Tulsa, number 23, versus Cincinnati, number 9. There's nothing Cincinnati can do, much like USC, to get into the playoffs, but they are motivated. They have something to prove. It feels like the Bearcats are doing everything right, but, there's just nothing they can do. I think that this game will be close and defensive. Can Desmond Ridder in this offense overcome Zaven Collins, Tulsa's star linebacker? That is the question for me. I think that they can, and I think that Cincinnati is going to come out here with a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove, but this game might be closer than people expect. Cincinnati wins. Ohio State and Northwestern. Okay, I don't really have to convince you that Ohio State is the far superior team, but what if Northwestern somehow, by some miracle, won this football game? What would the College Football Committee have to do with these rankings? Do they let Northwestern in at the number 4 spot? I think that they do. I just don't see Peyton Ramsey leading this offense to score more than 20 points against Ohio State. Ohio State, Buckeyes, big. Moving on to the ACC, and this is the game that I think is one of, if not the best matchups. Clemson at number 3, Notre Dame at number 2. Everyone wants to talk about Clemson missing Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think that's the story. I think the story is that they were missing Tyler Davis, defensive tackle, and Mike Jones at linebacker, plus some other defensive players last time these two teams met. The Clemson defense is going to see massive upgrades. The last time these two teams met, Notre Dame settled for 4 field goals, 2 inside the 30. Meanwhile, Clemson had 4 field goals with 2 30 yards or less. Which offense will refuse to settle? That is the question. Notre Dame, Clemson, I think that they're going to have a lot of red zone opportunities. Which teams do not take field goals? Which teams take the points? You got to get 6 points in the big games like this. Which defense do I trust to step up more in the red area? Listen, I'm going with a healthy Clemson defense. Tigers win in a close one. Oklahoma at number 10 and Iowa State at number 6. A lot of people are favoring Oklahoma. Both teams are better since the last time they met. I mean, especially Oklahoma on the defensive side of the ball. We're usually not talking about how good Oklahoma's defense is. They play this speed defensive ball. Can they stop Breece Hall? 6.1 yards per carry, 17 touchdowns, one of the best running backs in college football that nobody is talking about. Breece Hall has to set the tone early against a defense that is top 5 nationally in major categories since November 1st. They've really cleaned everything up. I think that Spencer Rattler and Lincoln Riley can beat Iowa State's defense. I'm worried about the Cyclones versus Oklahoma's new and improved speed defense, but I am going to trust that Brock Purdy and Breece Hall can rise to the occasion and beat Oklahoma. Go 2-0 versus the Sooners this season. I'm going Iowa State over Oklahoma in a good one. Finally, we have our final game, the SEC Championship. Alabama number 1, Florida number 7. This one's easy for me. The Crimson Tide are far and above the number 1 team in college football. This will be a shootout, but I believe Alabama can stop Florida more than Florida can stop Alabama on defense. And at the end of this game, the point spread, it could be something like 14. If an LSU team with a new quarterback and barely enough scholarship players to take the field can beat the Gators at home, then imagine what Devonta Smith, Mac Jones, and Najee Harris could be in for a day. I think the Tide run away with it. It could be close up to halftime, but I think that Alabama is just too powerful for Florida to contend with. I'd love to know your opinions down below. Thanks for watching the EndZone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so we can move the chains.